Hi, welcome back to another Stand on Guard with David Creighton. We've got some exciting stories, some great news to discuss with you today. And yeah, you won't be disappointed because Trudeau's outraged and he's in trouble again. Well, we're going to hear more about that in a minute. Maybe they're beginning to realize that Justin Trudeau is responsible for all this trouble. Yeah, Trudeau has done it again. And what has he done this time? Well, he's off to New York City. Isn't that something? New York City. Well, I mean, what on earth would Justin Trudeau need to do in New York City? Well, apparently he's negotiating with the United States over mineral excavation. But the strange thing is, he's got a Public Service Alliance of Canada strike going on right now. More than 150,000 public servants off the job. And he's not doing anything about that. Not even negotiating with that union. And maybe he should start to think about back to work legislation, because this is really ridiculous. And they're dancing in the streets over this. And they're asking for the world. And if you've been through hard times in the last 2 to 3 years because of COVID-19, because of unemployment problems, I don't think you're really going to be that understanding about this. But anyway, here's something you've got to see from the House of Commons.
Start spreading the news. He's leaving today. He wants to be a part of it. New York, New York. Mr. Speaker.
Mind the honourable members that singing is not allowed. Whether it's good or bad, it's not allowed.
These are small-time blues. They're melting away. I'll make a new start of it in old New York. Mr. Speaker, I can't sing very well, but at least I pay for my hotel rooms. Will he pay for his hotel costs when he goes to New York tonight?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, over the past number of years, we've spent time across the world promoting Canada, promoting Canadian workers. We've been talking about the leadership on environmental responsibility, the reconciliation with Indigenous people.
He won't make it there, 'cause he won't make it anywhere. That's what they didn't get to. Anyway, it's been a classic week of Trudeau outrage. And we just discovered as well, you know how Justin Trudeau's always saying he has sort of divested himself of the Pierre Trudeau Foundation, this charity that is out there and has been involved in its own share of scandal, receiving money from communist China. And Trudeau's always saying that nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with the Trudeau Foundation. Except he does. And we discovered this week that members of the Trudeau Foundation, board directors, are actually meeting in the Prime Minister's office. Now, I think that has to constitute some kind of connection. So let's have a look at this one.
No engagement except for Trudeau Foundation donors pay for his vacations. No engagements except for the only 2 people he will allow to investigate foreign interference are from the Trudeau Foundation. No engagement except for intelligence reports show that Beijing gave $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation to influence him, a donation facilitated and signed off on by his own brother. And now no engagement except that he hosts them for meetings in his own office. Was there no other office space available anywhere in Ottawa, Mr. Speaker?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, while Conservatives continue to focus on me and attacks on my family, we're going to continue focusing on delivering for Canadians, delivering on affordability, by delivering dental benefits that the Conservatives voted against, investing in health care in ways that Conservatives have stood against, moving forward on affordability by being there to support Canadians from coast to coast to coast with targeted measures that are helping 11 million Canadians, including the grocery rebate. We're also moving forward on creating great jobs for the middle class, by investing in a clean, green economy with positive impacts right across the country. This is what we're focused on.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we all know that nobody focuses more on the Prime Minister than he focuses on himself. He, meanwhile, expects us to believe that this foundation, named after his family, has donors that pay for his vacations, $80,000 in free vacation benefits, that they take donations from Beijing, facilitated by his brother, which intelligence officers say were designed to influence him, and now that he hosts the same foundation with his top officials in his own office. How dumb does he think Canadians are to believe that?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's interesting the lengths to which the Conservatives will go to not talk about the budget we just delivered for Canadians. A budget focused on three large themes. Investing in affordability for Canadians to be there to support while they're actually struggling through difficult times right now as we build a stronger economy for the future. Being there on health care with historic deals signed with the provinces, with investments in dental care that the Conservatives continue to stand against. We're going to continue building a stronger economy for the future because we know that fighting climate change and investing in the greener economy go hand in hand for the middle class.
Did that response in question period sound a lot like the other response when after the New York song? It's like Trudeau has got one talking point right now, and it's about, let's talk about the budget and let's talk about clean green energy, which he thinks really, Canadians are obsessed with as much as he is. And it's quite outrageous hosting these foundation members. And of course, we owe actually the scoop to La Presse, which broke the story and which prompted Mr. Poilievre to bring the matter up in question period. But it is quite outrageous that Trudeau continues to think we are really that stupid, and all he has to do is blather on about his green energy talking points, and we're just going to forget everything, and everything is going to be okay with him. And of course, he runs off to New York City in the process. But Trudeau continues to be his own worst enemy, and of course, the allusion there to his holiday in Jamaica at the Prospect Estates, where he was living in a lap of luxury, apparently on the dime of the Green family, which has been a huge donor to the Trudeau Foundation. So whether he did it at the taxpayer expense or at the expense of a Trudeau Foundation donor, the whole thing stinks. And this is what Trudeau continues to do. Now, the other big story of the week, of course, Tucker Carlson. Now, if, like a lot of people, you watch Tucker Carlson, I watched Tucker Carlson faithfully every night, 8 o'clock on Fox News. Fox News fired him this week, and there's some doubt as to exactly why. Was it because he had something to do with this defamation suit that was brought against Fox News by Dominion, which is this election group that has been so controversial over the years? But Fox settled out of court with them. And Tucker really wasn't one of the ones on Fox News going on and on every night about Dominion. There were Fox News anchors and hosts that were doing that, but Carlson wasn't one of them. He might have mentioned it once or twice, but certainly he wasn't the one. If they're looking for a scapegoat in this, he certainly wasn't it. Fox, apparently, Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, is not one who likes their hosts to speak about religion or God or Christian spirituality. And Tucker often does that, and did so recently in a speech, which we're going to get to in a minute here. But could that have been the reason? And we don't know because nobody has said so. But I want you to listen to this speech from the Heritage Foundation anniversary meeting, and I think you'll enjoy this.
But because I'm sort of paid to predict things, I try and think a lot about, what connects certain outcomes that I should have seen before they occurred. And in this case, there is no thread that I can find that connects all of the people who've popped up in my life to be that lone brave person in the crowd who says no thank you. You could not have known who these people are. They don't fit a common profile. Some are people like me. Some of them don't look like me at all. Some of them are people I despised on political grounds just a few years ago. I could name their names, but you may not even know about their transformations, and I don't want to wreck your dinner by telling you who they are. But there's in one case someone who I made fun of on television, and certainly in my private life in vulgar ways, who was really the embodiment of everything I found repulsive, who in the middle of COVID decided, no, I'm not going along with this, and once you say one true thing and stick with it, all kinds of other true things occur to you. The truth is contagious. Lying is, but the truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something. You feel it every day. The more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. That's completely real. It's measurable in the way that you feel. And of course, the opposite is also true. The more you lie, the weaker and more terrified you become. We all know that feeling. You lie about something, and all of a sudden you're a prisoner of that lie. You are diminished by it. You are weak and afraid. Drug and alcohol use is the same way. It makes you weak and afraid. But you look around and you see these people, and some of them really have paid a heavy price for telling the truth. And they are cast out of their groups, whatever those groups are, but they do it anyway. And I look on at those people with the deepest possible admiration. I am paid to do that. I face no penalty. Someone came up to me, you're so brave. Really? I'm a talk show host. It's like I can have any opinion I want. That's my job. That's why they pay me. It's not brave to tell the truth on a cable news show. And if you're not doing that, you're really an idiot. You're really craven. You're lying on television. Why would you do that? You're literally making a living to say what you think, and you can't even do that? Please.
Yeah, very, very insightful and very interesting, of course, because he talked specifically about spirituality and obliquely about his Christian faith. And that apparently might have set off some alarm bells, even at Fox News, despite the fact there are so many Fox News hosts. We can name a number. I mean, Shannon Bream, who's written a series of books about the Bible. Laura Ingraham often talks about her Catholic faith. And there's a lot of evangelicals and conservative Catholics on that show. So I find it fascinating that there would be a problem with this. But Tucker Carlson obviously did have to have courage to say the things he did, because he got fired for something. And the most popular cable news show on television is no more overnight. But Tucker showed them. And and we're going to get to that here. Tucker really showed them. Because you know what he did? He went from his show to Twitter. And look at the results here. Absolutely went through the roof. He went into the stratosphere. 60 million viewers and counting. And this is a incredible achievement. And I really think what Tucker Carlson has done here is to demonstrate where media is going. And we don't need a media outlet anymore to put its mark of approval on what we say. So long as we can preserve freedom of speech on social media, on the internet, and I tell you that's going to be difficult with people like Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden running things right now, and we're fighting that censorship and this nonsense about misinformation, disinformation, meaning anything the liberal government or the Democratic government in the United States doesn't like. We are fighting that. But it's extremely important we preserve that freedom of speech, because Tucker Carlson demonstrated what you can do. You can take your audience with you to social media, and you can make your living on social media, but you can continue to speak the truth on social media. And that's one of the reasons I like Tucker Carlson. I watch his show every night, is because he never spewed talking points, and he never insisted Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are always right, because he would take on Republican leaders in the Senate and in Congress who he didn't agree with. He took on those Republicans who were giving a blank check to Ukraine to continue this war with Russia. It's time for peace in Ukraine, and it's time to move on. Tucker Carlson recognized that, and I'm sure he took a lot of flack from that. But he believed in free speech, and he thought we should be talking about the things that are important to us. So, I am 100% behind Tucker Carlson. I remain 100% behind Tucker Carlson because he spoke truth. And he referred to people in that speech to the Heritage Foundation, the people he used to disagree with. And we're going to get to one of those people in a few minutes. But I have had the same experience. I recently interviewed Dr. Naomi Wolf, who an all-star feminist who used to be one of in the pantheon of the Democratic Party's most favored. But she dared to take on the Democrats and the liberals over COVID-19 vaccines, and she got banished. And they started calling her, conspiracy theorist. And they have done the same with the next person we're going to get to. Someone I really admire the courage for, and that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He has done a tremendous job in fighting vaccine mandates and fighting for free speech. And once again, it's somebody that Tucker Carlson wouldn't necessarily have invited on his show in the past, would not necessarily have agreed with on very many issues, but we're coming together on basics right now, aren't we? On things like free speech. If you want to continue to have freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, to say the things you believe in without Justin Trudeau banning them and saying it's disinformation because I don't agree with it, we have to find commonality with those people who agree with us. And this is extremely important. And I want you just to watch this clip. This is one of Tucker's last interviews on Fox News, anyway. And this is with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I was a huge fan of his father. I was far too young to support him anyway at the time of his assassination in 1968. But I think his legacy was largely a positive one because he had the personal courage to stand up for the issues he believed in. And I certainly was not one who ever admired or was supportive of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But he showed courage, tremendous courage during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And he continues now to emphasize those things we need to focus on. And the things we need to focus on are not climate change, are not transgender rights, are not electric cars and green energy, but issues that matter, like having enough food to eat, being able to heat your home, and having the freedom to speak your mind. So just watch this clip the other night from Fox.
I think that the general theme of my speech was this corrupt merger of state and corporate power, which is turning our country into a corporate kleptocracy, into a system of socialism for the rich, and this kind of a cushy socialism for the rich, and this kind of brutal, merciless capitalism for the poor. It keeps us in a state of war. It bails out banks at the same time that last month, the United States government told 30 million people it was cutting their their food stamp checks by 90%. It took 15 million people off of Medicare. The same month, it gave $300 million to the Silicon Valley Bank, and tapped up the cost of the Ukraine war to $113 billion. We're sending $113 billion to the Ukraine. The entire budget of EPA is $12 billion. The budget of CDC is $11 billion. We have 57% of American citizens could not put their hands on $1,000 if they have an emergency. A quarter of our citizens are hungry. So we're cutting welfare and food stamps by 90%. And we're paying, and we're bailing out the bankers. We're paying for a war that, we can't afford. And with the way that we do this is by printing money. We've printed 10 centuries of money in the last 14 years. And that caused the inflation, which raises food, which is a tax on the poor. Oh, we've raised food prices for basic foods like chicken, dairy, and milk by 76% in the last 2 years. And now we're cutting people's food stamps and bailing out banks the same month. It doesn't make any sense. And we need to get rid of this kind of corporate control of our government. It comes from this, our democracy is devolving into kind of a corporate plutocracy.
Yeah, fantastic clip there. And he went on to say some other great things. He was on other Fox News programs. The funny thing is, the liberal media don't want him on, and that's because he's seen as a traitor to his liberal cause, a traitor to his liberal class, his democratic class. That's how they see him, and so they just don't want to talk to him. And so he's going on Fox News. And it goes to show you how our whole idea of who's right and who's wrong has been reorientated in the last 2 to 3 years. And I find it quite fascinating. But you'll notice, we talked about how Justin Trudeau likes to talk about disinformation and misinformation. And those are things he disagrees with. And this has never been clearer in the last week, when he tried to do the very Orwellian thing of rewriting history. And it wasn't even long ago history. It was recent history. He claimed that, no, I didn't tell people that they had to take the COVID-19 vaccine, that there were no mandatory vaccination programs or policies in this country. Trudeau lied about that. He lied about his position of forcing people to take the vaccine. And just watch this clip. It's absolutely chilling.
Misinformation and disinformation is carrying people to believe things that are untrue. And vaccinations is a perfect example of it. Like any modern bit of medical advancements, there are potential side effects in vaccinations. And there are people who've probably gotten very sick from vaccinations, on the billions of people who've been vaccinated against COVID over the past few years. And the idea that people can fly in the face of science, well, individuals are allowed to make their own choices. There may be all sorts of different reasons why someone is hesitant to get vaccinated. But I make a distinction, and I always have, between someone choosing for personal reasons to choose not to get vaccinated and someone deliberately using misinformation to mislead and scare other people with so-called facts. And all of the scientists and the medical experts and the researchers, not just in Canada but around the world, understood that vaccination was going to be the way through this. And therefore, while not forcing anyone to get vaccinated, I chose to make sure that all the incentives and all the protections were there to encourage Canadians to get vaccinated. And that's exactly what they did. Those people are putting us all at risk. I believe the vaccines should be mandatory for travel on planes and trains. When Canadians get vaccinated, including with our vaccine mandates that ensure the federal public service and anyone getting on planes or trains are vaccinated, that has helped move forward, keep Canadians safe. And exemptions will be exceedingly narrow and, to be honest, somewhat onerous to obtain. If anyone who doesn't have a legitimate medical reason for not getting fully vaccinated chooses to not get vaccinated, there will be consequences. There will be consequences. We have heard that Pfizer has now submitted for regulatory approval at Health Canada a pediatric vaccine for kids 5 to 11. I believe the vaccines should be mandatory. Today, by speaking directly to kids once again. I know many of you are in virtual school again. Many of you have made more sacrifices over Christmas, over the holiday. But you know what helps lift restrictions? You know what helps move beyond lockdowns? Vaccinations. We need to get more. Those people are putting us all at risk. There will be consequences.
Yeah. And there will be consequences for you too, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. And if you survive to run in the next election, you're going to be soundly defeated because you have lied so many times to the Canadian people. How do you think you can get away with a ridiculous statement like this when you obviously told people that they had better get the vaccination or else? And now you pretend that it had absolutely never happened. This never happened. And this is the kind of Orwellian doctoring of history, that you read about in novels, but never really expect to see happen, except in totalitarian dictatorships like Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, where they did literally change the past. Stalin used to airbrush people out of photographs when they were no longer alive. Or when after he had them ordered shot and killed because they were no longer part of his inner circle or acceptable to the regime. So they just were disappeared from history. They were washed out. They were airbrushed out of history, out of photographs. Justin Trudeau wants to airbrush out his COVID-19 vaccination policy. And I'll tell you, thank God there's enough people who aren't going to be fooled by this. But to suggest that if you were opposed to this because of misinformation, that just means you were opposed to Justin Trudeau. And what about the Freedom Convoy that came here a year or so ago? They were here because of mandatory vaccination policies. That's why they came here. They must have come here for the wrong reason. They must have showed up. They should have known there were no consequences. Justin Trudeau wasn't forcing anybody to take the vaccine. Why did they come to Ottawa to protest? That's how ridiculous this is. And this is how Justin Trudeau's mind works or doesn't work. He thinks he can pull another one, pull another fast one, pull the wool over your eyes again. But he's not going to get away with that. Yeah. So I want to move to one last thing before we close the show here, and that's something I'm quite proud of. And we can just add this here. I recently interviewed the Koeman brothers. These are Canadian filmmakers, and one is in London, Ontario. The other two are in my hometown of Comox, British Columbia. God bless them all. Most beautiful place in the world, and I grew up there. My father was in the Air Force. I went back there for 6 glorious years as the Wing Public Affairs Officer at 19 Wing Comox. Beautiful place. And I was so glad to know that 2 of these filmmakers are from my hometown. But they have produced a film that is absolutely astounding, astonishing, and frightening, because it's the medical assistance in suicide program that they are tackling in this documentary. This is nothing more and nothing less than euthanasia. And the Canadian government, the Liberal government, keeps expanding those who are eligible to have a doctor kill them. So let's stop calling this, MAiD, medical assistance in dying, or even medically assisted suicide. This is euthanasia, and this is asking doctors to kill people. And they wanted to expand this program to the mentally ill and children. Yeah, right. Like, these are groups of people who are completely able to make a decision about whether they want to live or die. And there's some fantastic interviews in this documentary. It's a series, by the way. There are 2 out right now, and there's more coming. I think up to 6 or 7 in the series. But watch it, and you can read the story in Human Events. That's www.humanevents.com. My story is just up today, and you can get all the information in that story about how you can support these filmmakers and how you can watch their documentary. And it is well worth watching, and it's well worth thinking about what we are doing with this crazy euthanasia project. And it is nothing that we should be supporting. And I want you to have a look at that article, and please support these folks, because that we are slipping down that slope at a very fast rate, and increasingly so on so many different fronts. We're losing our free speech. The government is censoring us. The government's killing us with a policy of so-called assisted suicide. This country is going broke under Justin Trudeau. We are pursuing a green energy policy that is going to make us freeze in the winter. He is limiting fertilizer, so farmers cannot grow their crops, to the point where we might not even have food, not only to export, but to eat ourselves. So we are in a very precarious position in this country. And I want you all to think about that, because we need a political change, but we also need to resolve to resist what is going on from this Liberal government, from this Trudeau government. I think it's extremely important. And I'm going to close with that, because I think that is the issue that we need to think about in terms of how we have become increasingly like a totalitarian state in so many ways. I'm not just saying that to sound alarmist. I'm saying that because I'm very concerned about our democracy. I'm very concerned about where we're going as a country. I'm very concerned that we're losing basic freedoms. And why else would people like Naomi Wolf and Robert Kennedy Jr. be standing up and talking about free speech and saying that's more important than some of these other things? Because the alarm bells are going off for a lot of folks. So I want you to remember that. Please support this station. Support what I'm doing here before Trudeau can do any more to take our freedom away, because he wants to shut down this station, others like it, and he wants you to watch his YouTube channel where you can hear his version of the truth. If you want to talk about information and disinformation and misinformation, you'll be getting lots of it from Justin Trudeau's talking points. So keep watching. We'll be back next week. And what we're doing here, I think, is extremely important. So I want to say goodbye for now. This is David Creighton. Stand on guard. And I'm standing on guard. And we all need to do that. So until we meet again next week, stay safe, stay secure, stay interested in the news, and stay resolved to fight for the freedom we always have, but we can lose awfully fast if we're not vigilant. All right, I hope you're enjoying this channel as much as I enjoy putting the material on here. This is not just about politics. I sing some of my favorite songs from the Great American Songbook. And you can also watch my latest show where we do some of the news you're not going to hear anywhere else. But please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. If you want to be part of this station, please be a subscriber. We want you.